3, 2, 1.
Good evening and welcome to A Gypsy's Kiss. It's Humpday Hoedown and I'm Shelley Carney.
In the front yard sitting on a log, a single shot rifle and a one-eyed dog. Yonder come.
And I'm Toby Younis. Thanks for joining us tonight. As you can see, we have a special guest tonight. We'll be doing interviews with our friend Josh Miller. And later on in the evening, we'll open up the phone lines. So if you have any questions for Josh, we'll go ahead and play those as well. All right? Thanks for joining us tonight. It's going to be a fun night.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Julie. Huh? Julie. Guess what day it is? Julie. Huh? Julie. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Come on, I know you can hear me. Anybody? Huh? Woo-hoo! Mike. What day is it, Mike? Anybody? Julie. Huh? Julie. Hey, guess what day it is? Julie. Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's Hump Day.
Woo-hoo! Hump day.
So again, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. Now, usually at the beginning of our programs, we go into housekeeping and we tell you what our plans are for the evening. But we have a guest tonight, and I don't want to keep that guest waiting while we go through all of that. So I'm going to turn his audio on. Josh, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Give me a sound check. Great. You sound great too. So the first thing, Josh, introduce yourself by name and by title, if you please.
Okay, I'm Josh Miller. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I'm also mayor of my town in Ravenswood, West Virginia.
Thank you. And I had spoken with Josh earlier at the beginning of the week, and I told him that I wanted to divide this discussion up into kind of three sections. Number one, I want to hear his background. Number two, I want to hear how he got to be the mayor of Ravenswood, West Virginia. And number three, I want to talk a little bit about the Fenn treasure, but I also want to talk in that same context the documentary that Josh is planning to make about, and we'll learn more about it. I don't know whether it's about the Fenn treasure or his particular search or other people in the search, but I want to spend some time talking about that. So first of all, Josh, do us a favor and give us a little bit of your background. Were you starting with where you were born and kind of going from there?
Well, I was born in Gallipolis, Ohio, but I grew up in Cottageville, West Virginia. That's right outside of Ravenswood, so that's where I went to junior high and high school as I got older. So after that, I went on and I got a bachelor's degree in psychology from West Virginia State University. And I played college baseball. I was an All-American athlete, got to play in the College World Series. And then I moved on and played a couple years in independent professional baseball. Then my shoulder went out, had surgery. That's a typical story for a lot of athletes. Mm-hmm. And I got a scholarship during that time. So when I was playing, I actually got my master's in psychology. I was doing it online while I was traveling. So then after my career was over, I came home and I started working for the West Virginia Treasury Department. I did contracts and purchasing, and I still do that today because a lot of people don't understand that a small town mayor actually, it's not really a full-time gig in terms of pay. Now, it is a full-time job. It may not be full-time pay, but I've got great folks around me, very supportive, so I can really dabble in a lot of different stuff. So as you can see, I'm a pretty busy guy, and I know you were asking a little bit of background about how the filmmaking came about. So after several years, we had a major aluminum plant closure in Ravenswood. It was Century Aluminum. And 650 people lost their jobs, along with my father-in-law. So it was a really tough time for all of us, and it devastated our town. So I decided to go on a trip across the country and try to live off Made in America products, but also just talk about American manufacturing in general and its importance to the country. And I still believe manufacturing is a backbone to this society, and we still need to focus on that. So, that kind of documented my travels. That was a shoestring budget micro documentary. I don't have any film background. I know people laugh, but I got a C- in film appreciation in college. So, You know, that's not really my thing. It was just something I was passionate about at the time, and I wanted to tell that story, and I figure out ways to make things happen. So after that, me and my wife came home from Charleston, West Virginia, where I was working, and I said, I'm going to run for mayor and make a difference. And, I ended up winning my first term, and then I won my second term, and here in about a year, I'm going to go into my third term. I do plan on running again.
And what year was it that you ran for the first time, and how old were you?
Oh, shoot, I'm 34 now, so I would have been 29, going on 30. When they changed to 2-year terms, which I just do not like, but because they were 4. But I started in July 1st of 2016, so I ran for office. I filed in January of 2016, and I ended up winning. Our election is actually in the primary, and that's in May. So I won that, and then I took office on July 1st, 2016, and I've been doing that ever since. And since I work in an elected official's office, I'm essentially a contractor, so I'm able to be mayor and still work for the Treasury.
Yeah, it's not. So that's the West Virginia Department of Treasury. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And
yes,
and West Virginia,
contracts.
West Virginia, is that the Mountaineers?
Yes, you got it. Finally.
Yeah. Well, I used to live.
I'm happy people realize you realize we're a state.
No,
I feel the same way about New
Western
Mexico.
Virginia, I'm like, okay, guys, so awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
as Shelley said, we feel the same about New Mexico because we get a lot of people asking us if
They need a passport to come here.
If they need a passport to come and visit. But the reason I know is because when I first, the last place I lived in Virginia was a town called Boyce, which is 20 miles east of Winchester. But the nearest VA hospital was in Martinsburg. And so I used to make that crossing all the time to go into Martinsburg to the VA hospital. So I thought
Ravenswood is actually right on the border with Ohio. We're right there on the Ohio River. So, Ohio's our neighbors, right? Yeah, just right across the river. So to put that in perspective, we're on the very western part of West Virginia.
So what did the impact of losing that manufacturing plant, that aluminum manufacturing plant, what impact did it have on Ravenswood?
It devastated us. The thing is what a lot of people don't realize is hold on, my little girl just come in the door.
Let's say hi to her.
Yeah, when a large manufacturing facility shuts down, you actually don't see the impact right away. Everybody thinks you do. But it kind of trickles into 6 months to 18 months because as unemployment dries up and people start moving, then the small businesses start closing. Right. So it's kind of a domino effect, and it just takes a little bit longer. And so Ravenswood, that's why I come back, because I've got a lot of experience in marketing. I got my master's in psychology, which we talked about. So I thought I could try to help reinvent Ravenswood. And for the last 3 years, we've had over 20 small businesses open up. Now, we haven't had any large manufacturers come back, but we have a lot of interest, and we've got property around there, and there's a lot of interested parties. So I think we're going to grow again. And, I'm just trying to focus on positive and what we can do in our town. And that's one of the reasons why I'm interested in the Fenn's Treasure, which I know we're going to talk about later. The premise of that is I'm a small town mayor in the Appalachian Mountains, and I'm going to travel to the Rocky Mountains. And if I find the treasure, I'm going to use it in a private endeavor to reinvest in my town. And I've got a lot of ideas for that.
Very noble.
That's why I've got interest from production companies. And I know we're going to go into all that, but I actually haven't signed with anybody yet. If I have to do it myself, I will. I have the capability to do it. So it truly is about the thrill of the chase, but it is important to me because I know, the town's looking at me, and it's just, I want that adventure, but I want to advertise what's happening in rural America. A lot of people don't understand. Yes, the economy's doing better, but it's still tough times in rural America.
Right.
And I think one of the things that you seem to have recognized is that a lot of that manufacturing is not coming back, that you have to look for alternatives that include, like you said, some small businesses, investment in technical infrastructure to help people use that. Because there's lots of opportunity for everyone. It may not just be in the town of Ravenswood. I used to hold a course in Boyce for the local businesses, saying, here's how you expand out of Boyce, which was a town about the size of Ravenswood, and help them understand kind of the tools the internet provided to them so that they could expand out of that with whether it was eBay or Etsy or all those opportunities. And I think that's one of the things that makes this great once you get them past that hump of, oh no, we only work with our hands, you know.
Exactly. It's funny you mentioned that, because one of my things I'm trying to pitch to the Chamber of Commerce businesses is, once again, you know, when you're living in a rural town, you know, a lot of folks, you know, and we have an older population, and some folks, you know, don't care for the internet, which is fine. But I try to explain to these small businesses, we have a lot of antique shops, we have some specialty shops. And I love that, because that's something Amazon and Walmart can't compete with.
Exactly.
Right.
Because it's unique. It's something that they can't put on the shelves. So I try to talk to them about how to create online commerce. And that's what's going to help your bottom line as a small business. Because when you're a rural town, you can't rely on just people coming across your door,
Right.
your physical door, to make your money. So that's where we've had some positive impact. And you know, I'm just going to keep trying. I'm going to keep pushing. And this project is also meant to kind of shine a light on Ravenswood, because we're a beautiful river town.
Nice.
Well, I have my two oldest children are both artists, and the art they sell is very specific to our area, retablos and tin work. And several years ago, they both started Etsy stores and literally get orders now from all over the world, just because the people in other parts of the world, in New Mexico, retablo is common, tin work is common. In other parts of the world, it's not. So if you can find a way to motivate them towards in that direction, because you don't have to compete with Amazon. You can put your store on Amazon, you know, and Etsy and
that's
eBay.
True too. That's a good point.
And all of those things, because it's a great way to expand out of rural West Virginia. Not that there's anything wrong with rural West Virginia, but
Except you can't say it.
except I can't say it. But it also changes their lives in the sense that it changes that, you know, when you're working in an aluminum plant, you're up at 5, home at 8. Get enough time to eat, shower, and go to bed. Once you start using the internet to build out your business, you get some time that you didn't have. So now you can expand your product line by experiment. Listen, I could go on like this for a long time, because
I love that stuff. So.
I did it for a long time.
With you forever, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that what I don't know if our viewers want to hear that or
Yeah,
not.
exactly. So let's get back to the Fenn Treasure, but more importantly, the documentary. So you've got documentary making experience. You'd call it limited. I don't think I would, but you're also talking about doing a documentary relating to the Fenn Treasure, and there's a variety of ways. We've seen the lure, where Thomas focused on the searchers. We saw, what was his name? The gentleman from the
Matt Masano.
Matt Misano. He did one that was kind of focused on the searchers. So what direction are
Kind
you
of
taking?
Fenbury, and
Pardon me?
especially Fenbury.
Especially Fenbury,
Yeah.
yeah. So what direction are you planning to take?
When I was talking to Jason and Sasha, I explained to them that I've actually had a couple calls from some production guys that wanted to talk to Discovery and some other folks. We'll see how that goes. You know, I get calls like that a lot, and sometimes they don't pan out. But a couple of these guys seem like they had a good background, and I think they can make it happen, but we'll see. But here's my thing. This is more of like a reality series type. I mean, still a reality series is somewhat of a documentary, but
Right.
you know, I want to break it up into episodes. I can see this on Travel Channel or Discovery. Not so much history. They're moving in a different direction
Right.
with these treasure hunts. And after Curse of Oak Island, gosh, that shit.
Hard to watch.
Yeah.
I'm always surprised when they say, we're going to do this for another season. Like,
Yeah,
really?
I just put my head down and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm going to watch it. But the premise of the show, like we were talking about earlier, is a small town mayor who, you know, has been through a lot and saw his town in the prime and kind of take a dive after the manufacturing left. And my goal is to go find Fenn's treasure and bring it back and use that revenue to rebuild my town. And so the premise of it, if it goes like I think it will, we'll kind of go back and forth between the treasure hunt and rural America and the town and what
Very
we would
smart.
do with the money. But I also want to talk, you know, I want to talk with like Jason and Sasha, and you guys. I mean, I watch your show when I can. I mean, I watch all these different YouTube channels, but it's you and Jason and Sasha. You guys, that's who I watch a lot of. So I want to try to implement some folks into that. Now, with that said, these could fall apart, but I'll document the whole thing myself, and I'll just do it through my social media page because I've got a good following. So I'm going to do it one way or another. So that's just how I am. I'm passionate about this, and I want to raise awareness. And like I was talking with Jason and them, I want to inspire some of this. I'm kind of like, I feel the same way Fenn does. Is I love my internet, I love my YouTube, but instead of watching Yellowstone or Montana on YouTube, it's a lot different when you're there and you smell the air and you see the sights. And a lot of kids don't get that anymore. I mean, and I want them to go out and seek that adventure and go and try to figure out what inspires them and just go for it, because you can't spend your whole life behind a computer.
No.
You need to go, smell those roses, as they say.
Right. So I think your plan to whether or not you get a production company to help you and do it yourself, because you've learned probably that social media can grow into anything, especially if you have content that is interesting to people. And people are funny when it comes to the internet. They become interested in things that they wouldn't normally otherwise become interested in, just because it's different and it's entertaining, it's informative, or it's educational, all of those things, Oh, so go ahead. You want to?
Oh, we just got a message from 23 Skidoo with a super chat. It says, "How do, Mayor Josh? Howdy from Cabin Creek, West Virginia."
Oh, I know where Cabin Creek is.
All right, so.
Hello.
So let me do this. Anything that we can do from YouTube, social networking perspective, we'd be happy to help. Anything that we can do on the documentary side, up to and including loaning you a closet full of equipment that I have here, we'd be happy to do that. I don't know where you're going to be traveling to when you're traveling. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But and the other thing too is if there's anything we can do, I've got a lot of experience helping people build out the internet style business, overcoming their fears, showing them what you need, and getting so in any of those areas. If there's anything we can do to help, please let us know.
Thank you. I
We'd be
appreciate
happy
that.
to.
That's very kind.
So let's change topics for just a little bit and go over to the Fenn treasure. What stimulated your interest in the treasure hunt? How did this all get started for you?
Well, initially I was actually reading the book The Secret, and a lot of, like I told Jason and Sasha, a lot of the folks, if they're major treasure hunters, they've probably heard of The Secret. I was really diving into that, and I was passionate about it, and I was going to go to some of these cities that I thought it was in. And then I found out on Travel Channel that Josh Gates on Expedition Unknown or whatever, I know he's got several different shows, that they were doing an episode on The Secret. And it just so happened right after that one ended, or whether it was right at the end of that episode, they did like a 15 to 20 minute segment on Fenn's treasure with Josh Gates and Dale. That's another person I talked to. Dale has responded to me quite a bit, and he's been very kind.
He's a good soul.
Yeah, but anyways, after I saw that, I'm like, that's an interesting story. So I bought the Thrill of the Chase book, and after I read it, I'm like, I'm just in my head, I'm immediately like, okay, I'm doing this instead. Because when I read that book, I'm like, Forrest is saying our personalities seem similar, because he's saying things that some of the things I'm thinking in my head, and it just clicked with me. And so I started studying it, and I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. So I just started looking at Thrill of the Chase and Google Maps and pulling out different maps and just kind of looking all over that territory. And I narrowed down a section that I'm going to do recon on here in about a week and a half.
So you're leaving West Virginia and coming out to the Rocky Mountains.
Yes, and I don't care to say. I mean, I'll say the vicinity. I'll be in southern Montana and north central Wyoming.
So you're going to be driving out, flying out?
I'm going to be flying out. I was going to drive but I only have a limited time. I'm only going out there for 4 or 5 days. But I have a specific search area that I'm going to spend at least 3 days in, and then I have a backup area. But this is basically recon, and I'm taking some video and some footage to send back to the production company that I've been talking to.
Yeah, very smart. And that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. This is basically a recon trip, but I have my own area that I'm passionate about, and I'm going by myself too. I know it's against what Forrest wishes and some of the community, but I just want to go by myself and just kind of have an adventure, and then I'll probably start bringing my family and some of my friends and start pushing forward with the show.
So I think it's okay. I mean, Forrest has said don't go where an 80-year-old man couldn't go. He's never really stressed don't go alone, that kind of thing. He just reiterates don't go any place an 80-year-old man couldn't go. The problem with that is there's lots of ways to become injured in nature that it doesn't make any difference how old you are. But I think if you kind of stick to those rules, like don't do anything, that's what we do. Don't do anything an 80-year-old guy wouldn't do. And I still end up tripping over a boulder, so it can happen. Just be careful.
My daughter is scared that I'm going to get attacked by a grizzly, and I just told her, I said, I'll be fine.
Yeah,
I got it.
Bear spray, baby.
Yeah, bear spray.
Bear spray. Bear spray, if it isn't bear spray. So I know that you had a really good interview with Jason and Sasha, and I'm sure a lot of the folks that are in our room have seen that interview. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to open up the phones so that we can have folks call in. I can only take one at a time. We can have them call in, and I know you can hear the phone call. So what I'd like to do is you and the person that calls have a conversation and answer their questions. And I don't think please don't feel obligated like you have to share your theories and your secrets. But I think my opinion, I won't. My opinion is that people like talking to other searchers, and I'm sure they've thought of some questions that Shelley and I haven't asked yet. So let me let these guys know. All right.
If I have trouble hearing, I'll let you know. Okay. I think we were good. We tested that.
Yeah, we should be fine. And I have a bit of a volume control here that I can raise. If we have to. All right, guys, so phone lines are open if you want to talk to Mayor Josh, 866-597-9901. Call in and this is not tell your story night. This is if you have some questions for Mayor Josh that you'd like to ask him about his life, about his career as a mayor, or about his interest in searching for Forrest Fenn's treasure, please feel free to call in. Well, like I said, they're open and he can hear the conversation. So I did want to ask you one thing. You talked about transitioning from box of gold and other things into revenue, which is an interesting term to use. Have you thought about exactly how you're going to monetize or liquidate the treasure?
Well, I think its value would probably sell more together intact in an auction than breaking it piece by piece.
Right.
That's just my thoughts, because this is a legendary treasure. I know it's not an old treasure, but it's legendary, being the Fenn's treasure. So, and the other thing I try to tell folks, even if that treasure is only worth $1 million, there is so much that comes after that. It could be a book deal. It could be other reality shows. I want to use some of that to try to go after The Secret. Now, I know that treasure is not as valuable, but it's still, it's interesting. I don't care about, like I told Jason and Sasha, I don't care about the money. I've had money and I've lost money. It's not about, I truly believe, and I say this a lot, money doesn't buy you happiness. It buys you time.
Right.
What you do with that time determines whether you're happy or not. And it's nice to have a little bit of money, though. So, but yeah, I think putting it together as a package deal. But I will say that, I've talked to Forrest a few times by email, not by phone or anything like that. I don't think he's interested in talking to anybody anymore. I know he has a few people he still talks to, but I'll honor his request and I'll send him back that bracelet. I'll hand it to him if I find it. That's just my thing. I'll give it to him. I won't sell it to him.
Yeah, that would be a darn good reason, a darn good excuse for you to visit with him. But I'm sure.
Talk to me then.
Yeah, well, so it's hard to get emails through. It's hard to get anything through. One of the things that I've always said to people is, if you want to talk to him, if you want to meet him when you happen to be in Santa Fe, if you get to Santa Fe, is have the bracelet. That'll work, more than anything.
Yeah, that'll get him there for sure.
But I've also said to him, if you send him a picture of your family and say you're going to be in Santa Fe and you'd like to visit with him, generally speaking, I think he responds to that. I think he's less responsive to the guy who says, I'm going to find your treasure and I just want to talk to you for a couple of minutes. When you start sounding threatening like that, I don't think it goes that. But our experience has been that if we had a friend, Louise, who has a YouTube channel called
Digital Nomad Girl.
Digital Nomad Girl. And she said, I'm going to be in Santa Fe. She travels all over the world. She's from the UK, travels all over the world. And she said,
I watched that. I saw that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a blonde.
Yeah.
Girl. I remember watching that. I'm like, how in the world did she get to meet him?
Well, she asked that same question to me that you asked. And I said, send him one of your videos and tell him you're going to be in town and ask if you could come by. Mm-hmm. And Fenn saw the video and said,
he just wants to know you're not dangerous or crazy.
Yeah,
He gets that all the time.
I think that's it.
Well, I get that. So I'll be honest with you. If I sat down with him, I probably wouldn't ask him a single thing about the treasure. There's so many interesting stories in his book. And, that place in Vietnam where he tripped over that grave marker, I mean, that was a powerful story. And it kind of gives you this perception of life. I like his thought process, Yeah. It's just, we're just a blip in the radar in the grand scheme of life. And that's stuff I would want to talk to him about. So, Forrest, if you see this, I'm not crazy, and I won't talk to you about the treasure.
And I think I get a sense that he loves telling those stories to a willing listener. He just really enjoys that. Honestly, as we all do. I love having somebody listen to my stories too, so I know what it feels like, and I'm sure he feels the same. What?
Nothing.
I don't feel any ill will if he doesn't want to talk. I know how that is when you get a million people messaging you, and it's just hard. And if I never talk to him again, I'm fine with that. But like I said, I think he's an interesting character, and he's inspired so many people to take those adventures, and I've got the utmost respect for him. He seems like a really cool guy.
And how does your family, you said wife, at least one daughter, more than one?
I got two daughters. I got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I've got another daughter on the way October 6th.
Oh, congratulations. How do they feel about all this? Caller, I'll get to you in just a second. Stay on the line. Let me just get this one question out. So how do they feel about all this?
Let's see, my wife's standing over there in the kitchen. She won't come in front of the camera. It's kind of like, I'm borderline crazy, but she likes my little adventures. I think sometimes she likes to see me go out and do these things, but I know it stresses her out sometimes, but I appreciate her, kind of understanding. And I was talking when I was talking with Jason and Sasha, I said, I don't know if this is really a comparison, but that's another thing that I picked up in Forrest's book. That his wife was always understanding when he disappeared for a while and kind of needed that space and that time to himself. It's not a bad thing to want time to yourself. And that just, I thought of my wife when I read about that too, because I've traveled a lot during my lifetime, and she's always been very understanding of that. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of support, not only from your family, but from your community. So how does I'll tell you what, I've got a caller on. I've got some more questions for you, but I've got a caller on. Hey, caller, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Josh, did you hear the gentleman?
Yeah, I heard him. Okay,
so caller, tell me your first name, where you're calling from, and what your question for Josh is.
This is Bloop from earlier. My question for Josh would be, what is his outdoor experience? We heard about his indoor stuff with his job, his background, but never his outdoor stuff.
All right, I'm gonna hang up so you can take this call offline. Okay, Bloop.
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you.
My pleasure. So he wants to know more about your experience in the outdoors.
Well, to be honest with you, my brother is more of the professional outdoorsman. My brother's actually a professional muskie fisherman. And
Wow.
yeah, he works for a company called Game Over Outdoors, and he's also a high school anatomy teacher. So that's kind of his summer thing. He does that. So I thought about bringing him with me. I have a lot of outdoor experience now, obviously not in the Rocky Mountains, but remember, I live in the Appalachian Mountains.
Right.
I've got camps in Greenbrier County in West Virginia in the Appalachian Mountains. I've traveled, but the Rocky Mountains are a little more challenging, I believe, than the Appalachian Mountains. So it's a little more intimidating. But I will say the one thing I always wanted to do here in Appalachia, I just haven't had the opportunity, is to do the Appalachian Trail. But I'll be honest with you, I know the outdoors, I know the gear I need, but I'm not a professional outdoorsman, however you want to word that by any means. But I know how to keep myself safe, and I know what I shouldn't be doing. So in my first search area I don't feel as dangerous at all, except for the animals and different things like that. Because I know how to prepare myself if that's what they're asking. So.
Well, it's interesting because I think whether or not you have a lot of outdoors experience can make a difference in terms of your approach, because you're not going to be surprised by anything. We always warn people that if this is your first time in the Rockies, you're coming from Florida, be prepared for a big surprise. The first one being, of course, breathing normally, because you're going to change altitude by 7,000 or 8,000 feet. But I think any kind of outdoors experience really changes the ball game, because you know what to expect. If you've hunted, fished, and hiked in the Appalachians or Appalachia, as you called it, you have a head start on that. And again, I'm not sure that he necessarily designed the treasure for the absolute outdoors person. I think he designed it for the average person. And
I agree with that.
Yeah, some of us are fortunate to have an outdoors background, or at least experiencing the outdoors, but I would say the majority of a significant percentage of the searchers aren't necessarily outdoors people.
I think
my
that
advice,
covers
though,
most
would
Americans.
be, anybody that's going to search, do your research before you go to your search location. Understand what the weather is going to be like. How long are you going to be out there? What's potential predators are out there? I was joking with Jason and Sasha. I'm going to bring my bear spray, but I also have a 50 AE Desert Eagle. It shoots 50 caliber rounds. It's a big gun.
Yeah.
But let me tell you this: the only way that gun comes off out of my holster is if I think my life's in danger.
Right.
Because I'm in their territory.
Weapon of last resort.
Yeah, it's a last resort. So I'll use the bear spray. But my little girls want me to come home, so
That's right.
I'll do what needs to be done.
So Rox and I both want to know where are you searching?
Well,
even
I
if
can
it's
say,
just the state.
I'll say southern Montana, and like I said, north central Wyoming. Don't want to give away too much of the location, but that's the majority of my search area is around Gardner, Montana. Below that, if I said that correctly, I will be searching some of Yellowstone, but I will be outside of the Yellowstone realm. So there's about 2 or 3 areas I want to search. But if the majority of your viewers watched my last interview, and I know everybody in the chat rooms always come up with some type of claim. So this is just my opinion, and I've read your guys' thoughts on it. This is an opinion. I feel that I may have found a clue that I have not read about in any of the chat rooms, any videos, even Dale's website, all the hints and the things, all these different chat rooms. I feel that I've found one thing, and I could be dead wrong. And if I am, I'm not going to find much. But if I am right, there might be a chance. But I have not seen it anywhere. I've been in a lot of chat rooms, read it, everything. So.
Well, that's good. I think that's what it's going to take, the one key element that's going to change the game for an individual. So it sounds like when you describe the area that you're in, that sounds to me like more than one theory. Is that true?
Well, I have 4 solves.
Okay.
But the one that I'm going to spend the most time on is the one where I feel that I've found the subtle hint in his book that I married with the poem, because he talks a lot about taking the thrill of the chase and marrying it with the poem. And I've probably went through that book, I don't know, 15 to 20 times, highlighting words, going back to the poem, going to my search area. And, you know, he said that he was an architect when he put this poem together. And everything that I'm marrying up, once again, it's just my opinion, I feel that I have fit a lot of these pieces. Now, I think the last part of the poem and the clues, if I happen to be correct, some of that's going to have to be with the boots on the ground. It's going to have to be something when I'm there. But I have a good feeling. I have a feeling that I'm moving in the right direction. But like I said, when you got 500,000 people looking for the treasure, I understand the probability is very low. But you got to be optimistic. If someone's going to find it, it might as well be me.
Well, agreed. I mean, yeah, Fenn says there are 350,000 people looking for this treasure. I feel like he means boots on the ground events, but they've been at it for 9 years. So I think the fact that there have been so many people looking for it for so long, the field is still level. If it was,
I agree.
If there was someone to me that was going to come up with the perfect theory, they would have found the treasure. We wouldn't be having discussions the 9th year into this treasure hunt, where again, and this is my opinion, everybody is literally on the same level. There are different theories, but to the best of my knowledge, there is no theory that is any better than any other.
Exactly.
That they're all.
That's when I read all these chat rooms and people blasting each other. I don't do that. It's just, it bothers me. I'm like, listen, man, you're mouthing, or whoever, lady mouthing me or something. I'm like, listen, you haven't found the treasure, so why are you talking? Why are you talking like that to me? When you find the treasure, then you can tell everybody else they're crazy.
Yeah, we do the same thing. If you don't know where the treasure is, we have a couple of videos we play.
I'll tell you the same thing I told Jason and Sasha. I hope you guys find the treasure. I'll be just as happy for it. I mean, I want to see someone find it. And I hope it's me, but if it's not, I'll pat people on the back. This is an amazing adventure, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, I think, for most to go after this. And it's exciting. You enjoy it.
Well, we got to a point after me, spending 6 years looking for it, I got to the point where I realized I didn't have any new theories. And not that I've given up on it, but I promised my partners that I wouldn't ask them to go out into the field again, boots on the ground, until I had something that I felt was a high level of confidence. And I haven't come to that point, and I've changed, my research and gone back, started over, et cetera, but I'm not anywhere near saying to these guys, hey, let's take a trip. So,
well, and I will commit to saying this. After I spend my 4 or 5 days out in my location, and I spend 2 or 3 days in that area where I thought I found that subtle clue, I will come back on here if you would want to have me. And the same thing with Sasha and Jason. And I will explain my theory and how I came to that. And I just want to get feedback from the searcher community. And they can either say, hey, man, that was crazy, or hey, you had something there, but maybe it didn't pan out. Or maybe someone uses that and it helps them find the treasure. That's what I want to see. So I'm not afraid to talk about it. I just don't want to do it until after I return.
And that's fair to ask. Somebody pointed out in the room that you shouldn't be going out without some sense of optimism. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And the problem with where we're at is I can't go out with a sense of optimism. I'm just being realistic. But we would love to have you come back, because I'm a firm believer, and these guys have heard me say this a dozen times now, this isn't like the David Blaine treasure where we can tell that we're making progress. We don't know that any of us are making progress. So that the only thing that we have is the conversation. What did you see? What did you find? Where did you go wrong? What was it about the poem that confused you in the term of this? So I think it's important to have those kind of conversations, and we've invited, and here's an open invitation to you guys in the room, if you've been on the boots on the ground in 2019 and you didn't come home with a treasure, and I'm pretty sure that hasn't happened yet, send me an email. I want to put you on Friday's show just so you can talk about your experience. You don't have to share your theory. Just talk about what it was like being boots on the ground. We have an email tonight that we're going to read later from a gentleman who's contacted us several times about this process, and he did his first boots on the ground. And I can honestly say that in reading that email, it sounds like the first boots on the ground, where where it's all, what is that thing? The gentleman this afternoon, he said, quoting Mike Tyson, you have a plan.
I was going to say, everybody has a plan till they get punched in the nose.
Yeah, that's it. That's what he said this afternoon. And mine was a battle plan is good until the first time you meet the enemy, right? And that's what this is like. That's what being boots on the ground for the first time is, because it's effectively eye-opening.
That is my one fear too. That's why I've tried to use. I've even used Google. I guess it's Google Street, whatever you want to call it. I've used the Google Street View. I've tried to use not other searchers, but the areas that I'm going. I'm trying to go on Google to see if folks traveling in those certain areas to snap pictures.
Right.
And I'm trying to put together that context so when I get there, it's not intimidating, because, like I said, the locations I'm going, I've never been there before.
Right.
It's like we just said, it's everybody has a plan until they get popped in the nose. So I'm trying to prepare myself for that moment, and I don't want it to overwhelm me, because it's easy to do. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, no, that's true. The first time, it doesn't make any difference whether you're going to the beach for the first time or you're going to the mountains for the first time. The experience is going to be unlike anything that you had imagined, right? It really does expand your imagination, because you're going like, wow, So you've got a plan. When are you actually heading out?
I'll tell you what I told Jason and them, just with the nature of what I do. I don't want to say when I'm exactly going to leave, but
Right.
I can tell you it will be in June, and it'll be soon. But I don't want to give the exact dates, just because of the nature of the different things.
A month
I
is
do.
good enough.
I don't even tell people when I leave for the beach. So it's just, I don't know. It's just a security thing for me.
So when you and your family go to the beach, where do you go, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, we went to Outer Banks. The first time I ever been to Outer Banks was last year. We usually go to Virginia Beach with my side of the family, and we went to Outer Banks with her side of the family last year. First time ever. I loved it. It was peaceful, and it's a lot different than Virginia Beach and Myrtle Beach, though.
Yeah, no. Myrtle Beach, Virginia Beach are party beaches. Outer Banks is just relax, and it just goes on forever. And so my ex and my daughters were beach babies, and so we spent a lot more time at the beach than I had ever planned to. The only thing I discovered about the beach is it's fastest way to ruin a camera. So
Yes, that's true.
there is no camera that will survive dropped in the sand at the beach. So, Josh, is there anything that you'd like to ask us, or
Does
anything?
he have a YouTube channel?
Oh,
People are asking.
People are asking if you have a YouTube channel.
I do, but I haven't. That's the one thing I haven't kept up to date. What you're looking at in the background, if people can see that, my Twitter account and also my Facebook is what I update the most. It should be facebook.com/Josh Miller America. And then the Twitter handle is Josh Miller Film. I have a YouTube channel. They can go on there and look at some of my Made in USA, American manufacturing stuff. They should be able to type in Josh Miller, and it should pull me right up there at the top.
Well, so here's the good news. Just based on the fact that you're doing what you're doing tonight with your whatever you're using in front of you, a laptop, is it?
Yeah, that's my laptop.
You can go YouTube Live now with that equipment, and you can start making your own videos discussing the search. Lord knows there's enough people out there that are doing it. So you might as well start building that market for your prospective documentary.
Exactly. I've actually made a few videos. I usually just stream. I do it on Facebook Live or something like that. So I haven't really went the YouTube realm, but I think I need to come back to it.
Well,
I have a lot of people ask me that, actually.
Yeah, if you're a documentary maker, you should take a shot at it, because the YouTube, in terms of objectives, of goals and objectives, YouTube is very different from Facebook. And there are a number of tools out there that let us do. Tonight we're live streaming to YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope simultaneously. So there's lots of ways to leverage your effort so that you're not having to duplicate it or replicate it for other channels. So, but you're a documentary maker, so you should have an active YouTube channel.
Yep. I do have some questions for you.
Sure.
I don't. Let's see. Why? I'll just ask some of the same things I asked Jason and Sasha. Why do you think after 9 years that no one has found the treasure? I mean, are we not thinking the right way? What's your thoughts on that?
You want to go first?
I think people, for one thing, are they're overcomplicating the issue. Personally, I think the treasure is within an hour and a half's drive from Fenn's home. And people are going all over the Rocky Mountains looking for it. And they justify doing that by, well, he said this or he said that. But instead of being just kind of logical and saying, why would he go there? I think also you have to really know Fenn in order to understand the metaphors in his poem. And the person who's been the closest to finding the treasure really knew Fenn well, and that's why he was so close. What do you think?
Okay.
I think it would take that. I think the reason it hasn't been found, there's basically two reasons. They can be broken down in a number of ways. Number one, I think he overestimated our capacity to understand what he was trying to do, right? We wrote it. We say he over-engineered the poem, but what I wanted to make it clear was that he over-engineered it in the context of humans' expectations. We heard about a treasure and a poem and a book, and I think we all assumed that he was going to make it easy for us to find. And what we've discovered is that he didn't make it easy. Maybe he didn't over-engineer it, but it's not easy. And part of it's because of what Shelley said, that there's something about Fenn that I keep a quote of his that I made up because let me answer this and I'll tell him to hold on for just.
Is that a smart line or is that your phone?
I don't know. Hang on. We won't know until we answer. Hey, caller, let me answer this question, then I'll come back to you, okay? So Fenn in his book says, it doesn't matter who they think you are. It only matters, let me see. It doesn't matter who you are. It only matters who you think.
Who they think
you are. And I changed that in the context of how would Forrest Fenn say that? And it comes out, it doesn't matter who I am. It only matters who you think I am. Mm-hmm. And so that leaves that space between who he is and who he wants us to think he is, that the truth of the metaphors and everything that's in the poem lies. And I don't think we've got there yet. I don't think we've found that particular Forrest Fenn, the one who is and the one who he wants us to think he is. There's something in there that we're missing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I will say this: I do agree if the treasure is not located on the outskirts of Yellowstone, or I know I've read your guys' piece on the discrediting Yellowstone or saying, hey, I don't think it's there, which I think that's, I mean, everybody has their opinion.
Right.
I mean, like everybody does until it's found.
Right.
So, but I do believe if it's not in the areas which he grew up as a child, then it's definitely, like you said, maybe an hour north of Santa Fe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do agree with that. I'll tell you in my last interview, and I wholeheartedly believe this, and don't ask me to elaborate. This is just my psychology jargon, I guess, is I also listen to what he doesn't say. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a very important thing that maybe searchers need to do, because like I told Jason and Sasha, I can talk a circle around people all day. Mm-hmm. That's a talent that I have, and I know that. So a lot of the times I try to listen to what Forrest doesn't say. And there's some areas that he doesn't talk about that makes me wonder why he's not talking about them. And that's kind of led me to where I've found that subtle clue. And like I said, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So be it. There's been 500,000 people that's been wrong. So.
Right. And I don't mean to imply that he's necessarily hiding something from him. I think what you've said is what he doesn't say, I think, fits into that thing between who he is and who he wants us to think he is. Because both of those are not not the guy that hid the treasure. The guy that hid the treasure is someplace in the middle. Let me take this call. Hey, caller, you've reached Toby and Shelley and Mayor Josh. What's your name? Where are you calling from? And what's your question for the mayor?
Hi, Toby. This is Greg in Rochester.
Hey, Greg. How are you doing?
Oh, good. Thanks. Just wanted to quick thank Josh for his service to his community. And my question is, I'll just hang up after I ask this.
Okay.
You said you're going to do recon. What if you were to somehow get so lucky on your recon trip that you find the chest after you're taking your limited video? What then happens to your show idea? Like, how are you going to frame it, or will you just scrap the idea?
Okay.
You're going to take it. You're going to take it offline.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
I enjoy being mayor of this small town. It's passionate. It's a passion to me. Actually, I've had that question before. If I am lucky enough to find it during a recon, I said the first thing I'll do is I'll call my family, and then I'll drive right down to Santa Fe and I'll hand Forrest that bracelet. And I understand what you're saying. I mean, that obviously will impact the reality show, but I'll try to use that to maybe fund another one. I'll open up a production company in Ravenswood and I'll start looking for the secret. But I'm sure not going to Oak Island. I can tell you that. I think that's a true, when the name Money Pit, that truly is a money pit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if I'm lucky enough to find it during my recon and my first hunch, I think there'll be a lot of other opportunities open up as well. And like I said, I plan to keep my promise to come back and reinvest that money in my town. And I want folks to know this is a private endeavor. I know I get a lot of those internet trolls and keyboard heroes saying, "Oh, he's going to fly out there with taxpayer money." And I'm sitting there going, "Do you know how much a small town mayor makes?"
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't have a private jet or anything. So, but just none of that money is coming. I mean, it's coming out of my own pocket. I'm funding it all. So,
Well,
and I don't ask for, yeah.
As I understand it, you actually, being a mayor is a part-time job. You actually have to keep a job in order to make a living, right?
Yes. Yeah, because I have to have insurance for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's public record. The mayor here only gets $15,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not mayor for the money. Okay, I love my town, and so my other job pays well, and it gives me the insurance and the benefits that I need to take care of my family. So that always comes first. And as I've said in many interviews, I'm always a dad first, and I actually put off the initial search in May because my daughter wanted to play t-ball, so I coached her team. And as much as I love my adventures, if I'm not a dad, I'm always going to be a dad first, because if I fail at that, then I've got nothing. You know, I want my girls to grow up and seek adventure and be proud of their dad. So I'm not ever going to turn my back to them.
I like your idea about finding the treasure and funding a startup that goes and looks for other treasures. If nothing else, makes documentaries about looking for other treasures, because Lord knows there's plenty of them out there. We get the question. We get a question a lot, like, "What are you going to do with the Gypsy's kiss after the treasure is found?" And our answer is, well, first of all, we've got a whole bunch of technology here that we can use in a broad variety of ways. And secondly, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of other treasure hunts out there that we can focus on and start bringing the community, because we're all going to suffer the same. You know, if somebody announces that tomorrow the treasure is found, there's going to be a big black hole of depression right in the Rocky Mountains, you know. So we're all going to be doing that. I think the best way to overcome whatever effect that results in is to find another treasure to start looking for.
And I agree with that for the most part, but just realize, you know, most of us, if you've been doing this long enough, what you guys you've been doing it a lot longer than me, you have that passion. You have what Forrest talks about, the thrill of the chase. I think it'll be depressing because this is one of the most unique searches that you'll ever come across, because we can tie this treasure to a man and his thoughts. But, you know, when you're looking for Templar gold, you know, you can't connect with that to a sense.
That's right.
And Curse of Oak Island, like I said, that's a whole other story. But, you know, it's a passion. And I think you guys will move on and not even miss a beat. Same thing with Jason and Sasha and some of the other searchers out there. It'll be sad because it's a different. I was telling them, I said, I almost want to just take that chest and take it back to my area and write a poem and hide it somewhere. And I admire Forrest for giving those books to. I can't remember the name of the
Collected
place,
Works.
Yeah, Collected Works, and putting that towards cancer research and treatment. Because my mother, she had stage 3A breast cancer, and she ended up, she had a 50-50 chance to live 3 years, and she's been in remission for 10 years now,
Nice.
a little bit more. So I know how that impacts families. So I commend Forrest for that endeavor, and I know he had a scare of his own. So that changes people's lives when you go through that.
Even if you're not the person, just a member of the family.
Exactly.
Because it changes
It affects
everybody.
the family too.
Right.
And that's, I'll never forget the day that I heard my mother had cancer, and that stuck with me. And to be honest, that kind of, I know it kind of was the first time I realized that, because I'm a young kid, I was in my early 20s and I still felt like I was invincible. But the first time that I kind of felt mortality and hey, something's going to happen to us eventually. So that kind of lit the fire in me to say, I've got one life to live. I'm going to live it.
Well,
And it kind of changed my mindset.
it sounds like that kind of thinking has had a positive impact on you in terms of serving your community in the way that you have. And now looking at this treasure, I think you're although there are a lot of people that we've spoken to that have plans if they find the treasure, I think honestly, you're the first person that we've talked to that said, I'm going to reinvest it in my community.
Yeah.
I think I've heard other people mention, well, I want to put it in this and this and this, but I think very specifically, you're the first person we've talked to that said.
Well, and I think that's the storyline that these production companies like. I talked to one gentleman. You guys know Anthony Bourdain, the No Reservations.
Yeah. Oh, I love him. He was one of my favorites.
Yeah, exactly. Mine too. And the one production guy I was talking to said that he wanted to get in touch with the production company that worked with him. And I was like, well, that would be amazing. But I don't get too high or low with this stuff because, the guy's legit. I looked him up, but the chances of that happening is not good. But like I said, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But just the fact that they were talking about that and had that interest kind of excited me because I was a big fan of his. But it's not about the fame and all that stuff. That stuff will come after you find the treasure, but it can't change. It's not going to change who I am. So I believe that.
So if you're a fan of Anthony Bourdain, you must be kind of a cookie foodie.
I kind of liked his personality.
Yeah, he had a great personality and a real
sarcasm. And
yeah.
This is a family show too, so I'm not going to.
A real joy for life. I liked him a
He's an
lot.
interesting character.
Yeah.
And he loved life, and it was a tragedy what happened with him, and it just shows that it doesn't matter how famous you are or what you have.
We all end up the same way.
Everybody goes through the tough times, and I hate to see that, but you just keep going.
Yeah. So I think the idea that you've had, the Appalachia has had such a difficult time these past years ever since industry started moving away and we started replacing it with information technology. They didn't have the tools to help them. So I think the idea that you're taking something that's intriguing in the sense of the treasure and you're returning it to Appalachia in a way that's going to help the folks that haven't had a lot of help. I mean, they're struggling with it because there's not a lot of good answers out there, right? It's not just government aid or food stamps. There's much more there that these people who have spent their entire life working at and producing suddenly don't have that capacity anymore. And from my experience, they're not good at accepting I don't want to just say help. They're not good at accepting help in a way that they're not. It's not a sense of resentment.
What you're trying to say, we're our region. We're proud folks.
Exactly.
A lot of us are coal miners. We've had everybody in West Virginia has had coal miners in their family, and it's something I talk about a lot. Change is inevitable. But, how we react to it's going to depend on what happens to us, and that's why. I'm very passionate about taking care of our coal miners who've worked their entire lives and pensions and all that stuff. But we got to diversify our economy. We live in a beautiful state, and where I've been out west, obviously Santa Monica, West Hollywood, pitching some of these shows, and everybody always comments on the beauty of West Virginia. And I want to try to hone in on that and try to diversify this economy, and I think we can grow it.
So one of the things about West Virginia is it has a great deal of natural resources. I don't mean like coal and things like that, but the beauty of natural resources. And I know I used to go trout fishing there from Virginia, and I know it's a beautiful state and good down home, solid people. We've got a hardworking group of people here in West Virginia, and sometimes we get a bad rap for stuff, and I just hate. I mean, of course, we've been hit hard by the opioid crisis and things like that. I'm sure you see that in the news, and it's tragic to see that stuff happen. And that'll probably be that's something that I would like to do. We have a lot of great people here in Ravenswood trying to battle that and getting people out of the cycle of addiction. And that's something that we definitely need to focus on here in West Virginia, because we've been hit hard by that crisis. Especially in the small towns, because it's so easy to turn to that when you don't have other options. And I think your idea of providing options is going to make a difference. Listen, I had a call and they hung up because we were still talking. I'm going to call them back, okay? Hang on just a sec.
Sure. I told you I could talk forever.
I'm okay with that because I can do that. Let's see if they answer.
But if you have any more questions for us, I know you asked us one question.
Let's see if he...
Hello.
Hi, it's Toby and Shelley, and we wanted to get back to you because we were still in the middle of the conversation with Mayor Josh. What's your name, where are you calling from, and what's your question for Mayor Josh?
Well, I was watching the show on the ants and the elephants.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
I just wanted to
So you want to comment on the ants and the elephants?
Yeah, that's what I was calling for.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I will call you later in the show when we open up the phone lines, and we can talk about that, because we have Mayor Josh here right now.
Okay.
But I'll call you back. What's your name?
Okay, thank you. Linda.
All right, Linda.
From Illinois.
Linda from Illinois. I'll call you back in a little while.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, so I think I've asked you all the questions that I want to ask you. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have?
I'll think of something, but I have a couple of questions for you guys still.
Oh, okay. All right.
You were mentioning that someone was close to the treasure. And like I said, realize that I'm still a so-called rookie with this search. I've been doing this compared to what everybody else has. So the 200-foot searcher, I thought Forrest said that individual was within 200 feet, but didn't know it, obviously didn't know it, or even knew that they solved the clue. Or how did he word that? I don't know the exact verbiage there.
Well, I can't give you the exact verbiage. I can tell you how we interpreted what he said. He said, people have been within 500 feet. Not searchers, people. He said some searchers have solved the first two clues and then walked right past the next 7. And then the first of these stories that he told was about the 200-foot searcher, where he said someone was within 200 feet. They told me about it, sent some pictures, told me where they had been, but they didn't know it. Okay. Now, there is something else out there, and I don't have a citation for this. The something else out there, and I can't remember where I found it, if somebody knows where the citation is or whether I'm just making this up. He, somewhere along the line about the 200-foot searcher, he added that he didn't know, Fenn didn't know that person knew him so well. Okay, and this happened early in the search. right? It was before I got into it.
2011.
Yeah, 2011 timeframe, and you got to remember the context for which this all took place. Right, 2010. He's hidden a treasure. He has a community of friends, artists and gallery owners and writers and famous people in Santa Fe or visiting Santa Fe who know the famous Forrest Fenn for his storytelling capabilities. So he plans this all out. He's got a reason to do it now because he has a group of people who think he's pretty cool. He publishes 1,000 copies of the book and he puts them in the Collected Works bookstore.
Okay.
And then somebody, a friend of it, because I always imagine the plan was for his friends to find out that he published a book, that it's in the Collected Works bookstore, that it describes the treasure. So the next time he had lunch, or I don't think he did cocktails, coffee with a bunch of them, they'd say, "Ah, Forrest Fenn, you rascal, did you really do this?" You know? Mm-hmm. And then his friends would eventually find the treasure. We did, you've heard me say this before, we did a video back a couple of years. I called Forrest, I wrote Forrest, and I told him I was going to do this video because the title was Forrest Fenn Died in December of 2010. Because, and the premise of the video, and he said, okay, I get why you're doing it. But the premise of the video is, what if Forrest Fenn had died in December 2010? The only thing there would have been was 1,000 copies of The Thrill of the Chase, sequenced there. Am I using that? Is that the right word? Sequenced?
I don't
sequestered,
know that word.
Sequestered there at the
Situated.
Collected Works bookstore in Santa Fe, New Mexico. This didn't get to be a thing until Margie Goldsmith published that article. Margie Goldsmith was a friend of a friend. She knew Douglas Preston. Douglas Preston told her the story. She was, at the time, a freelance writer. She came out, interviewed Fenn, pushed the article, and eventually sold it to Hemispheres magazine. And then it went viral because Hemispheres magazine is the magazine that's on United Airlines all over the world. And suddenly,
I remember reading about that or seeing.
So a guy that expected to publish and sell 1,000 books, give the money to Collected Works, give some of that to a cancer research fund, never expected that what was going to happen was this big viral expansion of his idea. And so Forrest Fenn, being the guy that says sell, 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 decided, well, time for another book, Too Far to Walk, because I got all these stories. We can put the map in the back of it. We can do all these things. We can do interviews. We have another video that's entitled Forrest Fenn Didn't Discover the Rocky Mountains Until 2013. Because until 2013, with the publishing of Too Far to Walk, he never mentioned the Rocky Mountains. Never so much as said anything about the Rocky Mountains.
And that's where you could think that it would be in New Mexico.
Well, that's kind of our
the other
basis.
thing is, once again, like I don't know my timeline, but if that searcher that he's talking about, did the book come out at the same time he announced? I mean, did this all happen at once?
Yes.
And like I said, I want to make sure. Okay.
August of 2010.
But he had spoken to other people about hiding the treasure over the 20 years between the time he got sick with cancer until he released
He had accumulated the treasure. He had shown it to friends, and he had told his friends about his plan.
Okay.
Right. That he was one day he was.
Too, that would make me be more convinced that it could be in New Mexico as well if some of his friends searched for the treasure prior to the release of Thrill of the Chase.
Right. And
that would be logical.
So they didn't know he had taken the act of hiding the treasure until the book was published. So the first his friends found out that he had actually taken the act of hiding the treasure was when, so he timed it well enough so that whenever he hid the treasure, the book was published released soon after that.
Okay.
So he had a very conscious plan to keep this, two people can keep a secret if the rest of them are dead, So I think that was part of the plan, and that's where it starts going like, well, wait a minute, he's in New Mexico, I just got a message that said your internet connection is unstable.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
That's
yeah,
okay.
I saw that. It was kind of fuzzy there for a second. So let's see, what was the other question? So your guys' so if you had to choose a state, do you both believe it's in New Mexico?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And my logic is in the book, forgive me if you've heard this, Shelley's heard it 100 times. In the book,
No, it's fine.
just
I
before
wanna
he
hear this stuff.
before he talks about the treasure, he said, I hid it somewhere in the mountains north of Santa Fe. If I told you I kidnapped your puppy and put him in the mountains north of Santa Fe, would you look in Wyoming?
No. That's the thing is, I've tried my best during this time to remain objective, because I think I've read a lot about we can call it confirmation bias.
Yeah.
When we have we see what we want to see when we think we're going to solve. We stick to it.
Right.
So that's why I just try my best to be objective with people.
Yeah.
You get another call?
No.
Another call
No,
coming?
no. That was a mail notification.
Oh, okay. I did have one other question.
Wow, who's interviewing whom here?
Well, I think it's a mutual interview here.
When I have this opportunity,
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing that's eating me up is I really want to tell you guys about this clue I think I found, and but it's going to have to wait till I get back.
Until you get back. That's fair. We wouldn't
want to get your guys' reaction
Yeah.
on it when I kind of tell you the path I'm going. Okay. I know what this may be my last question. I don't want to keep you.
we're here till 9.
So I'm kind of juggling this fact and fiction fiction. So Forrest has only said that he believes the first 2 clues have been solved, because I was watching, I don't know, it was some of those, I don't know if it was Dateline or whatever, I don't know if it was an accurate reporting or not, but they said that someone has solved 4 of the clues.
I'll say the same thing that I've said about the person that they refer to as the lead searcher. There is no credible evidence of any kind that we know as a community that 4 of the clues have been solved. There would be no way to know that unless Fenn were specifically to say, I know, because he's the only one that could know, right?
Oh, yeah, of
I
course.
know that 4 of the clues have been solved. I've heard that said in the same way. I've heard it interpreted in the same way. I have never seen a citation where Forrest Fenn has said the first 4 clues have been solved. The only citation that's consistent is some searchers solved 2 of the clues and then went right past the treasure. That's as close.
Okay.
There is no.
That's what I was wanting to know, because I want to know if those words came out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Because I would think if someone solved the 4th clue or around there, that would be close to the home of Brown.
Yeah.
And if Forrest said if you solved the home of Brown, you could walk straight to the treasure.
So I'm getting a quote from Deep Thinker. He says, searchers have come within about 200 feet. Some may have solved the first 4 clues, but I am not certain. So Deep Thinker, if that's the citation, could you tell me where it comes from? Oh, does that come from, oh man, you know where that comes from? The lure. Which was a terrible situation to be in. So Deep Thinker, could you just cite that for us so I can give it to Josh, and that way he can, it'll be in the chat room, just some citation, because your quote looks good. I'm not arguing the quote, I just don't have a citation for it. And it could very well be that it was something that we published, because we have a lot of videos of Forrest Fenn on our A Gypsy's Kiss channel, so. Let me see.
I use that Terry Scant stuff, terryscant.com too. And I kind of look at some of his comments too. And he said, if it was accurate, he said, why would you want to know where warm water's hauled if you found the home of Brown? Because then you could walk straight to it.
Well, that's another thing. That's when we get to that lead searcher conversation, we talk about that, because he has said things like that. If you know the home of Brown, why are you asking about warm waters? And then he said, you won't know your warm waters is correct until you find the treasure. So to me, that indicates, number one, it's a short distance. And number two, that that if you're on the right track, you will know that you're not going to stop at clue 4, right? You're not going to stop after passing 4 clues. You're either not going to have figured out the others, or you're going to do like those searchers did and walk right past them. It strikes me that if you suddenly have figured out 4 clues, you're a lot closer than 200 feet and maybe within, a small distance, and that you shouldn't stop there. If I confidently, I'll tell you, if I was confident about the first 4 clues, I would camp in that spot until I came back with a treasure, no matter how long it took. Because to me, if you've got the first 4 clues, that includes Homo Brown, right? And I get a sense that when you're at Homo Brown, you're not very far from that treasure.
Well, and that's why I said I'm going to spend 3 or 4 days in that certain area.
Yeah, I think it's important to do that once you've got a sense that you're on the right track, right? But if there is a searcher that's found 4 clues, I don't have that advantage. I'm not convinced my first clue, Warm Waters Halt, is correct. Once I get to my area, I'm making up shit. Excuse my French.
Okay, so we can swear on this show,
yeah,
right?
we can swear a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, good. I was trying to be nice.
Yeah, no, that falls into that category of how human beings talk. Now, once we start throwing the F-bomb around, things change.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah. We want your daughter to be able to watch this. We want Kennedy to be able to watch this one on YouTube someday.
I'll tell you, 4-year-olds are like sponges.
Yeah.
I felt awful. One night she was walking with me to get a drink, and I hit my foot on one of those Disney characters and said what you just said.
Yeah.
Now every time she hits something,
right.
I'm like, don't say that.
You can't say that.
That's how we learn.
I feel awful, and my wife gives me a lot of crap about that.
Yeah.
I've got her from saying that anymore, so I've got that taken care of. But like I said, I'm really excited to talk about the solve. But the reason, I'll just say it. I feel like the Homo Brown is the thing that I've found that no one's talked about. Homo Brown, okay? And like I said, it's just an opinion. But the thing that excites me about it is the location of the Homo Brown. I think the quote after it gives you a sense of direction. And I feel like that, or the clue after Homo Brown gives you the direction after you put in the Homo Brown. So it all, the pieces are coming together for my solve, which is why that gives me the goosebumps. So, and I've read a lot of solves. Trust me, there are a lot out there. And I try to be respectful to everybody that puts them out there, because there are some mean people out there in the chat room.
Yeah, they will tell you how they feel.
Really mean people.
Yeah. They'll tell you how they feel, even though they're probably wrong.
Yeah. I don't know if I have any other questions. The only other thing, how long do you think it'll be before the treasure is found? Do you think it'll? Can you guesstimate, as they say?
Well, let's see. How long has it been going on? 9 years? Probably another 15 years, right? That's his thing. 15 years.
Do you think Forrest wants it to be found before he? I don't want to. I'm not trying to be.
So that's a 2-part question, but go ahead and ask it, because I'll answer it in 2 parts.
Do you think that he wants this to be his legacy and continue on, or do you think it would give him? You don't have to speak for him, obviously, but do you feel that maybe, given his nature, that he wants to be a part of it after it's found too? I know I hear him quote and say things like, I've hit it and now it's up, it's history. But I feel a part of me wants he wants to be there and still here on Earth when this is found.
I think he's of 2 minds, and as anybody would be, I believe. He's also hidden the bells and the jars. So those are also his legacy. So in that regard, I think he does want it to be found, because then it would validate and vindicate him. Yes, I did hide the treasure. See, somebody did find it. Hooray. But then again, it would all kind of be that blowback on him and his family once again. So there's that difficulty to deal with after it's found. So I think he would be of 2 minds on that.
Okay. I think he wants the treasure to be found, but I don't think he cares whether it's in his lifetime or not. And I think part of that is I think it was in the German Playboy interview where he said the finder's going to open a Pandora's box. And my sense is that he's at a point in his life, and his family, it is at a point in their lives that they don't want to be part of that Pandora's box. Now, the simple fact of the matter is, for as long as any Fenn is living, or that bloodline stays alive, they're going to be somehow involved. But to me, it's the what I call the Akiles Theory. Imagine, he tells that in the book. He tells the story of the Rosetta Stone. And he thinks, and he says to himself, as if the individual who had carved the Rosetta Stone was looking down from some spiritual place. And he says, don't you think that guy really felt good when they found his stone and that archaeologist figured it all out? And I think there's a part of him that believes one day, whether he's here or not, that somehow he's going to know that his treasure will be found, and the legacy of Forrest Fenn will live beyond our lifetimes and into some point in the future. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not as confident that the planet is going to survive that length. There are things about the planet that worry me. And I think Shelley's right. I think part of him wants to say, ooh, I would love to be part of that party, whatever it is. And then there's another part of him that says, hey, the longer the better.
One more question. Will you give me one more?
Absolutely. Will you take us by? We're here till 9.
Okay. And if you think of any more for me, I can keep going too. What do you think he means by, and I know it's not his quote per se, imagination is more important than knowledge. Do you think that quote is particular? I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Do you think that quote is particular in terms of how this poem is going to be solved? Do you really think it's imagination that will solve this poem, or do you think it's knowledge? Because he seems to think imagination is more important than knowledge, because he's said that. I know that's not his quote.
Yeah.
But it seems like he emphasizes that.
You want to take that?
We did talk about this a little bit last week, and as a psychology major, I'm sure that you've explored this idea on your own as well. But we feel that knowledge is the accumulation of experiences and learning that you develop over your lifetime, and it's based on the past. Okay, I know these things because I've learned them and I've done them. Imagination is the future. It's what's possible. What could I make happen with this knowledge? Can I get to the next place? So we feel that imagination is going beyond knowledge and taking it to the next level.
I think I agree with that. So the way we look at it is they're both necessary. You have to have a certain amount of knowledge to get you to this point, but that's in the past. And the show that we talked about risk-taking. And Fenn, to me, as much as he is anything else, he's a risk-taker. And the one thing about knowledge is that knowledge is what prevents you from taking risks. Right. What you know is what keeps you from going to the next. I can't do that because if I do that, I'm going to burn myself on the stove. I know that. Imagination is what supports the idea that you're willing to take a risk. And what I know, I'm a risk taker myself. I've done it all my life, probably not in the same way that Fenn has done. But here's what I know about risk takers. They fail more often than they succeed.
That's for sure.
But they never, you probably know the same. They fail more often than they succeed, but they never stop. And it's that imagination, the dreaming part of them that says, you know what, I can change this small community with a little bit of effort. I have the power to change this community.
Right.
And you imagine what it's going to look like in 5 years or 10 years or after you're not mayor anymore, and it's going to be different from what it is today. If you were to look at it from a statistical perspective, the statistics tell you that that town and other towns in Appalachia will be overwhelmed by the opioid crisis before you can do anything. It's going to decimate those towns. That's what knowledge tells you. What imagination says is, to hell with that, I'm going to change this. and I've got a way to do it. And I think that's the difference. They're both necessary. I think as a risk taker, he counts on his imagination, the dreaming part of him. I think he's always been that way. And I think he's telling us that don't let the knowledge of the fact that there's no ciphers in here, don't let that stop you. Don't let your knowledge stop you. Don't let the knowledge that the only definition of perfect definition of warm waters is in the New Mexico Game and Fish Regulation. That's knowledge. Your imagination should be telling you, go take the risk, figure out what this is, figure out how to do it, and then even better, figure out what you're going to do when you find that treasure. And I think that's what it is. I disagree with even Einstein's statement that imagination is more important than knowledge, because the quote has been bastardized so many times. What Einstein said was imagination is more important than knowledge, and he knows because he had both. He had lots of knowledge, and he had the imagination, the dreamability, if you want to put a word on it, to take him to the next level, to take him to levels beyond anybody else could have imagined. And so I've heard imagination is better than knowledge. That's not what he said. Imagination and knowledge are basically co-equal. Imagination is more important than the knowledge when you have a problem to solve and you're willing to take risks. And that's where we're at with this thing.
Yeah. Well, the way I see this with the imagination quote is, I believe, once again, as I always say, my opinion, I believe if you use imagination to read this poem, that you can decipher or use deduction. I guess when you use the process of deduction, that's more knowledge based, but you can still use your imagination to figure out what type of landscape or what type of area that this treasure sits on, just by reading the poem. And I think that's why he talks about a child may have the ability to, I don't know his exact quote, but he said, maybe taking a child with you could help with their imagination. But at the same time, I feel you can read this poem and it kind of gives you an idea of where this treasure is sitting. When it look quickly down, your quest to cease, different things that are in there. I think it can kind of tell you where this treasure chest is. And one thing I will reveal, and just out of my thoughts, is I don't believe that the treasure chest is buried. A lot of people do. And the reason that I don't think it's buried, and this doesn't give away any clues of where I'm searching, but when he initially said that if his cancer came back, or his initial plan that he was going to take a bottle of pills and throw himself at the treasure, you're not going to throw yourself on a treasure
that's
that you've already buried.
Right.
You wouldn't word it that way, I don't think.
Right. We agree with you. We think the treasure is hidden, and that when he said nobody's going to accidentally stumble upon this treasure, to me, that's not, nobody's ever going to find it using various forms of technology, or somebody's going to be taking it. But my son Jason once said it's going to be found by somebody taking a selfie and going,
that could be.
Yeah, what the heck is that behind me? I think what he meant by you can't stumble upon it is that it's set in such a way, in a rock crevice or something like that, that was big enough for him to have crawled in beside it, because that was his plan, So we agree with you. We don't think it's buried. We think it's well hidden, and it's hidden in a place that would allow him to fit alongside the treasure if he had so decided to do that. We think that when he talks about the special place, we'll share that with you, that the special place is not the precise crevice in which the treasure is hidden. It's more like an area. That's when we refer to, you've heard us use the phrase, it's not fenny enough. We think there's places out there that are very, very fenny, and then we start counting the number of places he could have hidden that treasure, and we could spend spring break looking for it, So, not that
and that's the thing that eats me up. The whole, when he throws that quote, it doesn't matter who you are, it only matters who they think you are. I'm always curious when this treasure's found, if it's going to be in some obscure place where it just doesn't sound like him at all. Like it's like some completely, I don't even know what to say. Like it has nothing to do with mountains or streams or anything. It's just like in behind the 7-Eleven or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been sitting there the whole time. But,
let's do it.
It's a new perspective.
I'm joking when I say that, but there
Right.
could be some truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's another side of Forrest that we don't know about, and it's his personal space.
It's in it. It doesn't matter who I am. It only matters who you think I am. Someplace between those two statements is the Forrest Fenn that hid that treasure. Now, I don't think it's behind the 7-Eleven in the dumpster, but it is not. I think when it is discovered,
It's behind the Dr. Pepper
I
store.
remember in an interview someplace, somebody asked him, and I think it was one of the recordings that we made, somebody asked him something like, and I'm going to paraphrase, something like, will we know why your special place was special? And his response was, probably not. You're going to be focused on the treasure, and it was my special place. It may not have the same meaning to you, although once you find the treasure there, I'm sure it's going to be damn special, to you. But I think it's interesting that he thinks of this place as something very special to him that may not have any interest to us. Although when you go out, I mean, one of the great experiences of looking for this treasure is I had been to the Cimarron River dozens of times in my lifetime, and I never saw it the way that I did when I went looking for treasure. I didn't know there were beaver dams that were 500 years old on the Cimarron River, that kind of thing. And the same with the Rio de los Pinos. I had heard about the Rio de los Pinos for years from other fishermen, never been there, and then I go up there and I go like, oh, well, that's what they're talking about, So
I thought of another important point that I mentioned to Sasha and Jason, and like I said, I'm not trying to bring up sensitive issues, but I know a lot of people have, or not a lot, but several people have died searching for this treasure. And I told my wife, I said, I'm not trying to be morbid. I said, but if something happens to me, it's not Forrest's fault.
right.
I know what I'm getting into, and I'm not going to put that on him.
Right.
I just think that we should and like I told Jason and Sasha, things happen every day to people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put anything on him if something would happen to me. I want to thank him, and that's not thanking that something happened to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Thanks for putting me
I
in
want
this
to thank him
situation.
for the adventure.
This bear is eating my leg, Forrest.
Yeah. So I just want that to be clear, and I know it's a sensitive issue, but we know what we're getting into when we go into this stuff, and any type of danger, in these adrenaline-packed adventures, anything can happen, and I accept that. And obviously, I don't want anything to happen to me, but if it does, I don't blame it on Forrest.
So we did a video right after we lost Paris Wallace, and we basically said the same thing. You got to take personal responsibility. Last year in Colorado, 9 people were lost kayaking, right? And this was a couple of years ago. But the other thing is, if you look at the way folks have behaved, there's basically 2 kind of behaviors resulting after death. One behavior is he knew what he was doing, and he was doing what he loved. Another kind of behavior was, if it wasn't for that damn treasure, I wouldn't have lost that person. And we think that if you die doing what you love, and you're responsible enough to follow the rules of not going where an 80-year-old man couldn't go, then you have nobody, there's nobody to blame, not even yourself. And it's better, I think you've done the right thing by telling your family what you're doing, how you're handling it, what the potential risks are, and letting them know that I don't expect anything to happen, but if something does, I want you to know that I was doing what I loved, and this isn't to be blamed on Forrest Fenn, because there's, if everybody that died doing the Grand Canyon from top to bottom and top again, that was another one where they lose 9 or 10 people a year.
Yeah, Mount Everest.
Yeah, Everest.
You definitely know what you're getting into.
And it's not like you're setting any records. It's been done, right? It's not like you're going to do it faster or stronger or with or without oxygen or whatever. It's all been done. But there are still people that say, I want to do it. I want to do it for me.
And like I said, I don't like talking about it very much, but I just in case, I've talked about that with my family, and I thank Forrest for the adventure, and I know what I'm getting into.
Yeah, well, I think that's a very healthy attitude, and it's nice to see that your family is going along with it in the sense that they trust the decisions that you're making in this matter, and that your intent is not to, leave them in a terrible position. So you will, we hope, like many searchers, if something were to happen, be missed, not only by your family, but by your community.
Okay. We're getting a little dark.
We're getting
here.
dark.
Stop getting so dark. He's a daddy with little bitty kids.
How about, let's see, how much time we got left?
We got 25 minutes, and it's your time.
Okay, I'll tell you. I've been asked if I found the treasure, what I would do with it for that private endeavor to help, with the town. I think you guys might like this. I'm working with the local bakery to create a Appalachian themed ice cream, and I call it the Appalachian Ice Cream Company. And I've been consulting with the bakery to because she's friends. We go way back, and we're just working on different flavors. So my signature flavor is roadkill. It is vanilla ice cream, animal crackers, and strawberry syrup. So,
Wait, say that again. Say that again.
It's vanilla ice cream, animal crackers, and strawberry syrup.
Oh,
like
I am going to make that up for the next time the kids will come over, and I'm going to tell them it's your invention.
That's called roadkill. And then cookies and cream is called coal country.
Nice.
I wanted to honor, the coal miners.
The coal miners.
And I've got a few other ones. You mentioned the West Virginia Mountaineers. They call us the Mountaineer Maniacs. And we're blue and gold. So I created a lemon and blueberry.
Oh, nice.
With the yellow and blue dye. So that's the Mountaineer colors. And then we got a really rich, it's like it's real dark chocolate covered in Hershey's syrup. I mean, it's not up to, I don't like it, but that's too much sugar and chocolate for me, but it's called Mudslide.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because we have some of that
Yeah,
stuff here.
you do.
We've got a huge area in the Appalachian region, and we're gonna try to bring the Appalachian theme to the national spotlight, and I think it's an interesting way to do it. So I've had a lot of people love it. They just love our basic vanilla and chocolate. So we're working on that, but that would really allow me to do a bigger commercial endeavor of that ice cream. Right now, it's just a small endeavor, and I haven't really gotten it off the ground yet. I'm just sampling it to people.
So when you described, when you said the name of that ice cream, I have to share a life moment with you. In the late 70s and early 80s, I was making the transition. I wasn't quite a hippie yet, but I had this plan to go out and, make a farm and raise chickens and whatever. And so my favorite magazine at the time, my favorite publication, was the Mother Earth News. And there was a guy in there that used to publish regularly. He was from West Virginia, and he was called Roadkill Ron. And what he would do is he would talk about how you can leverage roadkill by either eating it or skinning it or something like that. And when you said that, I thought of Roadkill Ron. Sorry.
They have a roadkill festival here in West Virginia. I can't remember where, but that's a little too much for me. I'm a mountaineer, born and bred, but man, I'll tell you, that's roadkill festival. I don't know if I can do it.
Well, I used to do a lot of crossing of the border from Virginia into West Virginia for the various festivals because I always thought their festivals, especially the ones that focused on the lore of the area, kind of Foxfire kind of, lore of the area, were always the best. I learned a lot from them. So it was a lot of fun to go there.
Well, and the other thing I would do is I want to buy the downtown commercial area. Obviously, I don't know exactly where you guys are from, but the real estate values in West Virginia are a lot lower than what.
Yeah.
When I was out in Santa Monica and I told someone that I bought my first house for like $80,000, they about passed out.
Yeah.
And so I could have, based on even at the minimum value at $1 million, I could buy the entire block.
Right.
For that. and I want to revamp it and kind of how I want to see it. And I've got a lot of ideas, and I love my town, and I'm gonna be here as long as I can.
Well, it sounds like you have a very good plan for not only leveraging what you find in the treasure, but even if you don't find the treasure, working with a production company, because a lot of that income that you get from the production company can be organized. You can organize it so that whatever they put into it, part of that goes to the community and make it a big deal. That's good for them and it's good for the community. So we'd love to hear more about that.
If I get a production company on there, and I told this something I emailed Forrest about, and he said it just he didn't want to do it right now, and I don't blame him because he's staying out of the spotlight. I'm going to do this anyways if I'm able. I want to dedicate an episode or revenue generated from it to the Cancer Research Fund that they put that money into. I don't care if it's $10,000 or $100,000. I want that money to go to that Cancer Research Fund because I'm very passionate about that, and I want to help support that cause that he's passionate about because it's affected my family too, indirectly for me, but it was my mother's.
I think that's a very thoughtful thing to plan, and it indicates to me that your plan is long term. That it's not just, hey, I'm going to go up to Montana, look for the treasure. You've thought about some of the things that you can, some of the good that you can accomplish after finding that treasure.
And if I don't, I'll be honest, I'm extremely excited to get back on the show with you guys and Sasha and Jason and let you guys kind of pick apart my, I guess we can call it my special solve. The other three, I'm not as excited about, I'll be honest. This is the one that I'm optimistic. So if I don't find it, I'm very excited to come back and let you guys pick it apart.
So what month were you planning?
June, he said.
June?
June. Sometime in June. I can at least say probably the middle of June.
All right. Well, when you do go and you implement your solution, your theory, and you find the treasure and you make your way down to New Mexico to visit with Fenn, make sure you contact us so that we can get together, have a cup of coffee, and just maybe run our fingers through all that gold.
Perfect. I will do that. I may just donate one of those double eagle gold coins to you.
Oh, we'll put it on our little treasure wall because, of course, now, thank you, we'll have to figure out what to do with the rest of our lives.
Well, like I said, I know you guys you'll find another treasure.
Yeah.
There's plenty out there, but this is a unique one, and it's just exciting. So I've got goosebumps thinking about going out there.
Yeah.
And when you get boots on the ground, it's just it's going to be amazing. So
punch in the nose.
Yeah, it'll probably be a punch in the nose. But, I've been punched in the nose plenty of times. Trust me. I think I've got a pretty solid plan.
Good.
But
and it sounds like it.
If I find it, I'll make sure I send a Facebook message with the selfie and the treasure. Okay?
Do that. That would be great. My son would love that. Just before you do it, just take the selfie with the treasure in the background with the comment that says, "Wow, there's something behind me in this box that I didn't." There's something behind me in this. What is that?
Yeah. Wow, we talked a lot, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. But that's what we do. We get people to talk a lot, and you did a great job, and we loved having you on the show. And you're always welcome to come back, whether you find the treasure or not. We'll still talk to you, even if you don't find the treasure. How's that?
I'll bring you guys some of that Appalachian ice cream.
Okay. Yeah, I want some roadkill. I may go ahead and make some roadkill for this evening. So I'm going back to the Albertsons.
Was there any other questions you have for
I
me?
got none. I think we've questioned you out. So we really appreciate the time that you've spent with us. Our best wishes and regards to your family. You can tell them that we think they have a great dad and husband, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Well, thank you. I think my daughter's asleep, but I could show you one little thing. You probably saw it on Jason and Sasha's show. She knows part of that poem. Did you see that?
I did see that. I was hoping that she would come on, but if she's asleep, don't wake her up for that.
If you can give me like 30 seconds. Let me go see if she's
Oh, don't
asleep.
you dare wake her up for that.
I won't. I promise I won't wake her up. Just let me
right.
go
He
see.
knows better. He's a
All
dad.
right. Okay.
I won't wake her up. When she's
Okay.
asleep, I'll let her sleep. Give me 1 minute here.
All right.
Got 2 kids and 1 on the way. I think you know not to wake up a sleeping
Okay,
child.
so we're going to let Mayor Josh go here in just a few minutes. I don't have a good way to make a transition. We're going to have to make a Zoom transition, which is a little bit hard, and we might have some
Put up a video
time.
while we do it.
Pardon?
Put up one of our little videos while we do it.
Put up one of our little
Like the Crazy Birds or the Drama Llama, I don't know, the Hello Chat Room, whatever one of those.
Well, what I was going to say is we do have a couple of really interesting emails. Are these all our emails, or do you have some?
Yeah,
over
that
there?
one and then this one was in the book. That's
Oh,
it.
okay. So, but I especially want to read the email from George because I think it. Did you wake her up?
No,
She's asleep?
I told you I wouldn't.
Okay, all right.
She's out cold right now, so I didn't. But
Well,
it's cute.
No,
Yeah.
it was adorable. She's just a cute little 4-year-old, and she looks like she loves her daddy. And the way that you were going back and forth in the poem with her, I did see it when Jason and Sasha interviewed. It was adorable. So we'll look for her the next time. She'll be a lot happier when you come home with the
Sounds good.
treasure.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk, and as soon as I get back, hopefully it's with the treasure in hand. Then we can talk a little more.
We look forward to it. We look forward to hearing from you. All right.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
So hit the button that says you're leaving us, so I can change the channel.
Safe travels. Thank
Safe
you.
travels.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay, guys, so give me 1 second because what you're seeing now is a really big form of version. Let me see. I got to get the zoom, unlock that, select that. Let me get us down to the right size here. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to see us. Okay, there we go. Lock that.
It's good.
Okay, so
So that's his YouTube channel behind us, yeah?
yeah, that's his Twitter account.
Oh, Twitter. Oh,
Twitter account. He didn't have a real active YouTube channel. So,
Okay.
okay, guys, that was a lot of fun for us. I hope it was as much fun for you. So we got a few minutes left here.
you wanted to read George's email.
So let's read some emails. Let me read these other emails. So we got some emails. We do have some text messages. We'll try and get those in. Do you want to say hi to the room?
I don't think we have time.
No?
We have 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Let's get it.
All right.
Zoom.
Okay, so I do want to read this from Davio, David Hoffman. He says he made a little video, and it's called Time to Go and Find Out, Do You Want to Be a Part? And I put the link to Davio's video in the description box below. So make sure you take a moment to go look at that video and then subscribe to his channel. So you can take a look at that. I told him we would do that, okay? So the link is down below in the description box. It's Davio, our friend David Hoffman, our friend and viewer David Hoffman. Mm-hmm. Then I got this one from Frank Brousseau. He said, "Hi, Toby and Shelley. Will it still be possible to meet you to drop off the Fenn oil painting? I will be in your area Friday night. If we can meet at your Starbucks location, please let me know if you want Friday night or after your show or Saturday morning. Can you confirm on your show Wednesday evening which works best for you and what time?" Do you want to do Friday night after we do the show? We'll just run over the Starbucks.
Either one's fine.
Okay, so Frank, let's do Friday night after the show, and we finish the show at about 9 o'clock. The Starbucks is 15 minutes away from us, if that, so we'll meet you at the Starbucks, and that way, if we do it on Friday, I can bring Shelley with me because we're not together on Saturdays, and you can meet both of us, so we'd look forward to that. So, yeah, and then we'll figure out how to get that painting. I think Cynthia visits with him enough that she could probably take it to him, but we can get it to Cynthia. She's not in town right now. Okay, so this one is called, it's from Fenn Addict, and it's called Walk of Shame.
Question mark.
Question mark. He says, "Hey, Toby, was just wondering if anyone else had to admit..."
I got a call.
Oh, we got a call. Hey there, you've reached Toby and Shelley. What's your name, where are you calling from, and what's your observation? I guess that's the best way to put it.
This is just a quick reminder to call back the woman from Illinois.
Oh, good point. Wow, look at that. Guys on our side. Okay, you know what? I will read this last email from George, and I will give her a call. Thank you. Thanks for reminding
Okay,
me.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Ooh, let me get back to that number. So let me see. That was the 402 number. Okay. Linda. Okay, so this is from Fenn Addicts, and he says, "Hey Toby, I was just wondering if anyone else had to admit temporary defeat." Yes, all of us, due to the water very definitely being high, too high. A walk of shame? No, we don't like to think. Not because my solve is incorrect, but because the water was too high for me to cross over and get to my location. First boots on the ground was my first week of May. Traveled over 2,000 miles to almost my location. Came up short by 250 feet arc. I found out quickly that the riddle inside the poem is not the only challenge to be overcome. Wildlife, environment, and terrain are the last half of the search to be conquered. And at this point, probably since it is in the situation, let me see, probably since I think he meant I am the situation I am currently facing, these three physical barriers certainly seem to be more challenging. Curious Fenn Addict. Yes, we've said it again and again. The boots on the ground will destroy a theory faster than anything else. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't continue.
That's how we learn.
That's how we learned. So this is from George. His screen name is Ob Ord, and it's George Rob or guy. Oh, I don't know.
Robbie.
I can read. Robbie. Okay, he says Toby and Sherry. Oops, George.
I don't know who Sherry. Maybe he means Sassy.
You have a very wise policy of not partnering with anyone to go proxy to hunt the treasure chest. He asked us, we turned him down. We went all the way out to my solve in New Mexico and found nothing. Looks like the place has been scoured by a lot of people before us. Every nook and cranny in the rock crevasses was clean as a whistle top to bottom. Never seen such clean crevasses. I don't know that crevasses are not clean. Holes dug, rocks flipped, and yes, we even did lots of that ourselves. 2 days straight out of hard searching and nothing. We searched from north to south, east to west, up and down. We climbed, we dug, we flipped rocks over and over again for 2 days. We looked in crevasses, nothing. We even went to where my solve was to the foot, nothing. That sentence, let's see. We thought and talked about where we could be missing, nothing. I would strongly suggest that if one does not have the solve to the actual square foot, don't go and waste your time and money. Looks like an army had been through doing the very same thing already. Very discouraging. But New Mexico was beautiful, we know. We went from Albuquerque to about 2 hours north of there, which would be about an hour north of Santa Fe. We did have a great time, and I am glad we went. Cool weather, really nice people, and even roadrunner birds. Yes, they do come out, don't they? There was even a tornado out there during my visit. We call them dust devils. We don't have real. Oklahoma has real tornadoes. We don't have them. Warning, awesome Mexican food. What? Excuse me. It's awesome New Mexico food. New Mexican food.
Oh.
If they put cilantro in it, then it's Mexican food. That's not New Mexican. Don't get me started on the cilantro.
I like cilantro.
Well, this just serves as a warning that I need to really understand the poem and not just think I understand it. Don't want to go 1,800 miles in a grand or more and come home empty-handed, although I did pick up some nice rocks and gifts for the folks back home. It's not as easy as one would think it is. Sincerely, Ob Ord. So, George, God bless you. We know.
Yeah. Welcome to the Boots on the Ground
Welcome
Club.
to the Boots on the Ground Club. Yeah. Okay, let me call Linda back, see what she's got to say about the ants and the elephants.
She hasn't already gone to bed. It's pretty late.
Let me see. Oh, that's Bloop. Which number was it?
I don't know, the one you called.
That was the outgoing call. Okay. Yeah.
There we go.
Hello.
Hey, Linda, in Illinois?
Yeah.
It's Toby and Shelley. We finally got through our conversation with Mayor Josh. So, and you said you wanted to talk about ants and elephants.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, let me turn my thing down here a
Okay,
little
yeah.
bit.
Otherwise, it's gonna create an echo.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about the ants and elephant thing. Well, I have a tendency to try to keep things pretty simple where forest is concerned. And so my idea is that he kind of means don't be distracted by all the little things going on. Otherwise, you're going to miss the big picture or the elephant in the room, so to speak. And so that was basically all I wanted to say. And, you know, a lot of people take these things and try to make a novel out of every word he says. And so anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to say.
All right, well, hold on. I got some questions, but I've got to say something to Jan Schultz. Jan Schultz cited...
Jeff?
I'm sorry. Well, it says Jan Schultz on
Yes, Jeff.
He says, Linda, listen. Do you know where that comes from?
Linda, listen to me, listen.
Little boy. Okay, so we agree with you that we overcomplicate it, that he wants us to simplify, stay in the box, talk about the elephant in the room, don't worry about the damn ants. So let's ignore all, well, let's transform all those metaphors into something real, right? What does he mean? Will you tell me what you think he means?
What's your elephant?
Yeah, what's the elephant in the room?
Well, I've been ever since he made the comment about the look at the big picture. You know, I've been trying to figure out what that is, and I really don't know what he's talking about. You know, so other than I think that maybe instead of when we read the poem, instead of picking it apart line by line or word by word, maybe we should try to look at the whole thing and make one big assumption, you know, about that. So, but I really don't know what it means.
Okay, so
even though I do think a lot of his comments, I will say, I think have 2 and 3 different meanings, and all of which may be right, even though they're different, and depending on what direction you're trying to get to the treasure. I think there's maybe more than one way to do that. So.
Well, so you saw the part of the show where probably if you watched all of the show, you know that I posted a spreadsheet with the poem in it, and what I said was.
I
go ahead.
I didn't really see all of the show, but I did see a little bit of that spreadsheet.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that there are certain facts in that poem. We know there are 24 lines. We know that each sentence is 8 words or less. We know that there are 166 words in the poem. That's all stuff that we agree upon, right?
Right.
Almost everything else in the poem, if I were to ask you what your warm water salt was, it would be different from mine, and we wouldn't agree on it. So what is it that's in that poem, aside from the fact that it has the facts, the 166 words, 24 lines, what is it that you think in that poem we could agree upon as a community?
Oh, dear. Let's see. Well, it's been a while since I've read the poem, but let me see. Well, I assume that we have to, well, number one, figure out where warm water salt is, and then follow the directions down one at a time, you know, with whatever you think the directions are to get to the point. And I assume we're going to be outside, out in the
So we can agree on that.
Open.
You're right. that we're not looking in a
Yeah.
gymnasium, right? We're looking in the outdoors.
Right.
We
Right,
agree?
yeah.
Can you and I agree? Nobody else agrees with us, but you and I. Can you and I agree that when he says canyon down, he means walk the canyon at the bottom of the canyon, or that he means take the side from the top of the canyon down to the bottom of the canyon?
I think it means go south.
Right. Follow the canyon down, downstream, if you will.
Well,
Well,
south.
south is down. Yeah,
I see what you're saying. So you think it's a
rivers run
direction.
north, so.
Ugh, so we can't even agree on that. Dang nabbit. All right, Linda. Well, thank you for calling in. I'm glad that you watched our show this afternoon. We had a good time. I don't know how much of tonight's show
Okay.
you had to watch, but I have to tell you that somebody, after we finished our conversation with Mayor Josh, somebody called me to remind me to call you. How's that for a good crew?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I enjoy your show.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
You have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Better shut down the phone line. It's
Okay,
9 o'clock.
I am shutting down the phone line here. Let's see.
We didn't get to have our usual hang tonight. And we're not going to have our usual hang Friday night because we have something else happening.
You know what? We can still do that. We can still do the hey.
The hang?
Hey.
Are we going to do the hang?
The what? What's the hang?
The hang? The usual, where we talk to people and,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Okay.
say hello by name and play their music and the hang.
I didn't know it had a name.
Well, you know, cool people call it the hang.
Apparently I'm not cool.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so here's the plan. On Friday, we're doing 3 shows. We're doing a 1 o'clock show, and I don't know what the subject is. I don't know until the night before when Shelley calls me and says, here's what we need to talk
I
about.
only did that once.
Well, yeah, but I like it when you do that because then I don't have to think about it.
Okay. Well, if you have an idea for our show on Friday,
Tell us.
Let us know.
We'll do it. Has to be
Yeah.
interesting. Don't.
something Fenn related.
I don't want to talk about
Forest Fenn
Brown.
treasure related.
Yeah, Forest Fenn treasure
And
related.
something fun. Ants and elephants was kind of fun.
Ants and elephants was a ball. I thought that was just knockout.
Something like that.
So
Especially if it's very topical. People
Friday-
are talking about it right now.
Friday we do our 1 o'clock show. Then at 2:30.
2:30 is the softer side. And guess what? Toby has talked me into it. I'm going to do a show on the softer side every Wednesday and Friday at 2:30 from now on. So, yeah.
We're not doing it now. She's not doing it on a Gypsy's Kiss. She's doing it
That's
on
right.
her softer side channel.
That's right.
And I think she is, trust me, I know from experience because she's helped me be a better person. She really knows her stuff when it comes to these things. So I'm going to strongly recommend you go over there and at least take a look at her channel. The softer side, Shelley Carney, you can find it. But we're going to be doing
The
that
softer
show.
side
on-
live.
Yeah, we're going to be doing that show Friday afternoon at 2:30 for
Yeah.
about an hour.
About an hour.
And here's the
45
good
minutes
thing:
to an hour.
I'm not even on the screen. It's
Well, you might be on the screen for the starting next week.
Why?
Because people get bored.
Oh no.
They
This
need
is
stuff going
This
on.
is your show.
They get entertained to a tap dance or I don't know. Da-da-da-da. So yeah.
So
Be there.
2:30, and then
2:30
at 7
Wednesday and
o'clock
Friday.
on Friday, we're doing the Susie Fennhaven Tubathon.
Tubathon.
We're gonna have Susie on
I gotta do
for the
the-
entire.
Cowbell. We didn't get to do any music tonight.
What? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.
More cowbell.
So we're going to do the Susie Fennhaven Tubathon from 7 to 9 on Friday, so it's not going to be our average show. But because she's going to be there, we will be doing things like reading emails, because the important thing is that you contribute to her goal of trying to get to Santa Fe, and you do that through paypal.me/Fennhaven. And you know what? I'll put that in the description box below, so when people who see this later on
And
can
she's
do that.
got that open right now, so if you can't make it to the show and you want to donate, you can do that in advance or afterwards
Yeah.
as well.
And then on Friday night, Shelley and I are going to leave here, and we're going to pick up that Fenn oil painting, that oil painting of Fenn that Frank did, and maybe we can, if we still have it, we won't be able to get it to Cynthia right away. But if we have it, we can show it to you on. We can show it to you on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know this was kind of a different show tonight, but it was a lot of fun talking with Josh. He you know, I had a lot of questions for him. I'm really interested in the work that he's doing in terms of using the Fenn treasure as a way to enhance his community, to feed it back into the community. I very much admire that. And that is not to say there aren't others who have plans like that. It was just such a, you know, I know the area. I know some of the problems that they're experiencing. I lived in the part of Virginia that was a lot like, that was Appalachian and was a lot like West Virginia. So I know their struggles. And I felt like there were things that I could do in terms of learning, teaching, and I tried to do as much as I can while I was still there. I hated living in the place. I had a beautiful, beautiful place to live, and I loved the area, but I needed to move on. So, anything else? Well, okay, here we go.
Well, you get down the fiddle and you get down the bow, kick off your shoes and you throw them on.
And
Thanks everybody for being here this evening, for all your great questions, comments, and chat in the chat room, and for your super chat. And for A Gypsy's Kiss, I'm Shelley Carney.
Shot rifle and a one-eyed dog. Yonder come a kid folk in the moonlight. Louisiana Saturday night.
song kind of goes with what we were talking about tonight. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're glad to have you here. We're sorry the show was a little bit different from what we normally do, but we'll make up for it next week because we got to take care of Susie on Friday. Thanks for joining us tonight. We, of course, always look forward to seeing you guys again.